June 22nd. Would you please join me in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God.
Missoula County acknowledges that this event takes place in the Aboriginal territories of the Salish and Kalispel people. We have a public announcement around closed captioning.
Yes, we do. See, it's going to work today. Yay. Hello, everyone. If you're joining us today for this meeting, instructions for turning on closed captioning are on your screen. If you're joining us in person, we'll have closed captioning on all the screens here in the Sophie and Louise room. And we also have assisted listening devices available. Please come to me if you would like an assisted listening device, and we'll get one for you. We ask that all speakers today remember to please speak slowly and clearly during the meeting. This helps with the accuracy of the closed captioning. There will be multiple chances during the meeting for public. If you would like to speak, we ask that you use the raise hand feature. If you are on Microsoft Teams, this is a small hand button. If you are calling in on the phone, you need to hit *5 to raise your hand. Then once called on, you will need to hit *6 to unmute. If you have any questions or concerns, please find me during the meeting and let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Juan, we have a proclamation.
I can read it.
Thank you.
Whereas wildfire smoke is a serious and growing public health threat, and more scientists learn about dangers of smoke exposure, the more we need to act. And whereas smoke events are becoming more unpredictable, as seen with the widespread effects of the Canadian wildfires this spring, and whereas wildfire smoke causes worsened asthma attacks, decreased lung function, and worsened COPD symptoms, increased susceptibility to infectious disease, increased risk of heart attack and stroke, and increased hospitalizations and death. And whereas the National Interagency Fire Center Outlook identifies significant wildfire potential throughout the Western United States in 2023, including in regions that send out smoke to our area. And whereas our adopted Climate Ready Missoula plan finds that our summers are becoming hotter and drier, wildfire season is getting longer, wildfire smoke is an increasing risk, and we need to enact strategies to reduce harm. And whereas wildfire smoke can come indoors, creating unhealthy conditions both outside and inside, and whereas the Missoula City County Health Department has resources to help residents understand and decrease exposure to the health risk associated with wildfire smoke, and whereas public messaging focused on the dangers of wildfire smoke and how individuals can protect themselves plays an important role in individual preparedness during wildfire season. Therefore, be it resolved, we, Missoula County and the City of Missoula, do hereby proclaim July 9th through 16th, 2023 as Wildfire Smoke Ready Week to inform and educate Missoula County and citizen residents of the hazards wildfire smoke and how to mitigate it.
Thanks, Juan. Now we're open to public comment on items not on the agenda. Nice to see you, Travis.
Okay, Travis Mateer, Missoula resident. So I sent a bunch of officials an email. I'm not going to get into those details because I did so in the email. So that includes Missoula County Commissioners and Mineral County Commissioners, and it's related generally to the death of Joey Thompson and the inability of 2 sheriff's offices to at least give me a call back. And I've had some other issues as well with concerns. As I look at disconnects in the criminal justice system, both within the city and the county, and then at the state, since I'm making conversation or I'm making calls and leaving messages with state officials as well, one of the things I'm just hearing about is the possibility that Missoula Correctional Services contract is ending and a third-party vendor may be coming in to try and do pretrial supervision. I'm very concerned about the use of technology, specifically algorithms, to make decisions about who should be in jail and who should be out of jail. I really want to know more about the Missoula County Jail and the Mineral County Jail, but you guys are Missoula. And I want to better understand who is in jail, who is out of jail, what that jail real estate is being used for. There's a lot of serious budget considerations you guys are going to be getting into. And I'm really concerned about litigation from one particular law firm. I won't get into specifics because I think that might be violating decorum. But as we're talking about limited resources and what we can and can't do, I'm really concerned that we have a problem. The reaction will be steered towards the private sector, and those solutions are going to have unintended consequences if we don't have a vigorous public conversation regarding that. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Travis. Okay, our current claims list. Claims received as of May 31st, 2023 to June 12th, 2023 by the Commissioner's Office total $3,635,165.39. We have, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 public hearings this afternoon. The first one is a resolution designating Missoula County as a B city, and Bryce Christians are what's the ecology and extension manager, director?
I'll cover it in my answer.
Yeah, say this. I'm going to bungle your current and auspicious title, but please let us know.
Yes. Thank you, commissioners. Good afternoon. My name is Bryce Christians. I'm the director of Missoula County Department of Ecology and Extension.
Thank you.
And I'm here, one, to introduce Mary Rose Kuhlman, our habitat coordinator, and ask for approval for a resolution designating Missoula County as a Bee City USA affiliate. This is the result of the great work that Mary Rose has done in her tenure with us in the last year. And so I will hand it over to her to cover the details of the resolution.
Good afternoon. My name is Mary Rose Kuhlman, and I'm the Habitat Coordinator with the Missoula County Department of Ecology and Extension. Many of us are aware that pollinators and insects in general are declining globally, and this is due to many factors, including pesticide use and overuse, introduced parasites and diseases, climate change, and then of course the big one, direct habitat destruction and land use change. In fact, urban and suburban areas are the fastest growing landscape type in the world. And as one of the fastest growing counties in the state, Missoula County is no stranger to this phenomenon. We have cause to be concerned about this lack of habitat for pollinators and other wildlife. We benefit directly from healthy pollinator populations in the way of increased crop yields and productive natural environments. Pollinators are linked to our survival and to the survival of wildlife and the wildlands around us. However, these urban and suburban environments can support a surprising diversity and abundance of native bees and other pollinators. And while we usually think of conservation happening in larger landscapes, such as the grasslands surrounding our towns and communities, important and accessible conservation opportunities are waiting for us right here in our own yards, neighborhood parks, or even our apartment balconies. We're in good shape here in Missoula County because with today's resolution, Missoula County becomes the first county in Montana to become a Bee City USA affiliate. And adopting this resolution demonstrates the county's commitment to conserving and protecting the hundreds of local native pollinators by enhancing and expanding pollinator habitat in the county. I think many of us already know that pollinator-friendly practices, even at home, can help local pollinator populations, but we may lack the know-how or even the support to do it. I think a really exciting thing about our county becoming a Bee City USA affiliate is that it provides a framework for pollinator education and community engagement around protecting and promoting these important insects. This kind of productive community engagement can create opportunities for collaboration between individuals, organizations, businesses, and local government to work towards common goals such as sustainable agriculture, a healthy natural environment, and the health and well-being of Missoula County residents. I want to thank the commissioners for signing this resolution and supporting pollinators and people in Missoula County. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Rose. Anybody else like to speak to this?
How are the pollinators on your farm?
Excellent. We have plenty of things in bloom. Not all of them are desired, but
The things in bloom.
things in bloom.
Yes. I'd move to approve and sign the resolution designating Missoula County as Bee City USA affiliate.
I'll second this. And any public comment on this? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Mary Rose, and thanks, Bryce. Good work. Next up is a hearing on the Lavering family transfer, and Zach Jones will present.
Okay, this item is the Lavering family transfer and boundary line relocation. It is located at 16375 Folsom Road. The claimants are Joel and Susan Lavering. Their technical representative is Eline Associates, and I'm Zach Jones, planner with Missoula County Planning, Development, and Sustainability. There's a bit of a lag on the screen there. Okay, and the property, like I said, is located off of Folsom Road, which is just south of Lolo. Highway 93 is the red line you can see to the east of the property, which is highlighted in that blue color. And Bitterroot Mountains are to the west. It's kind of in the foothills of the mountains. And the proposal is to create one new tract and transfer that tract to the Lavering's adult child, Eric Lavering. And then the boundary lines are also to be relocated for the 4 tracts, and there will be 3 5-acre tracts and 1 12-acre tract that are the resultants. And the 12-acre tract is where Joel and Susan reside. And this should be the map. So this is the existing conditions on the property. There are 3 lots that are currently there, which is why 1 additional is going to be created. Montana state land borders the property to the west, and the existing residence, which is in kind of the western end of the property where you can see that dotted line around it, is where the Laverings reside, and it's accessed through a access easement that is shown there as well. So there were a couple of the general evasion criteria and rebuttable presumptions that were triggered during our staff review. The first of which is that the proposed division is on a tract that was previously created through use of a family transfer exemption, mortgage security exemption, or occasional sale exemption, or has received preliminary plat approval. So in the past, actually before the Laverings owned the property, mortgage security was used to create one of the tracts, and then occasional sale exemption, which I have more information about here. So in 1979 and 1980, the mortgage security and occasional sale exemptions were used, which are recorded on the certificates of survey 2067 and 2405, which I'm going to go back real quick, which you can see are kind of the top left track there, and then the top right. So the, yeah. And then tract 1, which was the southern triangle portion of the property, was actually also created by a mortgage security by the previous owners in 2002, which were Bruce and Mary McClay. And that's also recorded on certificate of survey 5280. And then this parcel was conveyed to the Laverings from the McClays on, well, before October 1st, 2003, which makes it a legal transferable tract of record. And then the last one of these criteria that was triggered is that the proposed division is not compliant with the density recommendations in the Lolo Regional Plan from 2002, which states that one dwelling the intent of the classification in some cases if other plan goals and policies are met. And then onto the proposal itself, and this is what it'll actually look like in the lot configuration. So like I said before, there'll be 3 5-acre tracts, which are kind of those mostly triangle shaped lots in the east, and then the 12-acre tract. And you can kind of see how the boundary lines have been relocated, which is part of the proposal as well. And then if I could get the applicants to come to the stand. And could you state your names for the record, please?
Good afternoon. Joel Lavery.
Susan Lavery.
Joel Lavery.
Susan Lavery.
Thanks. And sorry if I've been pronouncing your last name wrong.
That's
which
okay.
I might
That's
have.
Always.
Did you buy the property with the intent of dividing it?
No.
Do you want an answer from both of us?
Just one is fine. Do you and your transferees intend to transfer the property within the next year?
No.
Have you talked to anyone at the county about going through subdivision review?
No.
Okay. And your son is not a minor, so will the properties be developed?
Yes, that's the intent.
And will the recipients of the property be residing on the property?
Yes, Eric and his wife intend to reside there.
Okay, thank you. And then PDS staff is recommending approval of the requests for both the boundary line relocation and the family transfer. And the recommended motions are listed there. And that's all I have.
Thanks a lot, Nick. Any comment? Do you guys want to say anything, or your representative like to say anything? Okay, great. I just want to make sure you have the opportunity.
Hi, I'm Mariah Taylor with Eli and Associates,
Thank you.
and I have nothing to add. But thank you, commissioners, for your time, and then thank you, Zach, for your review.
Great. Okay, what do you think, Juan?
I'm sorry, where was Eric residing? Or where does Eric want to build? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just actually, Zach, if you can go back to the last
The proposed conditions, I'm guessing this one.
He intends to reside on the track C2.
Oh, okay, thank you. No, it's straightforward to me. I'm going to read off of this one. I'd move to, or unless you give me the two-step. To approve the request by Joel and Susan Lavering to utilize the boundary line relocation exemption as presented in the subdivision exemption affidavit.
I'll second that. Any public comment? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd also move to approve the request by Joel and Susan Lavering to utilize the family transfer exemption to create and transfer one parcel as presented in the subdivision exemption affidavit.
I'll second that. Any public comment on this? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys very
Yeah,
much.
congratulations on having your adult children live next to you. That's well done.
Yeah, it should be a real joy.
Yeah, well done.
Okay.
Next up, presentation for implementation of the downtown master plan, and Linda McCarthy will speak to us.
They're used to saying that because your son moved to.
I know, I'm hurting. Exactly.
Thank you.
Linda, it was a great event yesterday.
Yes.
So much.
And thanks for your thanks.
Yeah, it's really great to get together regularly and kind of talk about what's happening. My name is Linda McCarthy. I'm the Executive Director of the Downtown Missoula Partnership. As you know, that does include the MDA, the BID, and the Downtown Foundation. I'm flying a little high today because of the breaking news from Senator Tester's office that we did receive a $24 million raise grant for the Downtown Safety Access and Mobility Project. And that came, yeah, we just got the news about 1 o'clock today.
I have not been able to look at email this afternoon. So
Well, I guess I'm glad to be breaking the news to you. And that also came after Senator Tester announced a $39 million grant for Mountain Line. So 2 big grants today from the federal government for Missoula. It's a good day in Missoula. I'm here today to just kind of give you an update on where we're at with our downtown master plan. I have a brief presentation for you, and we're happy to field questions. So the Downtown Master Plan Implementation Team is a committee of both public and private sector representatives. And our goal is to implement the 2019 Downtown Master Plan. And this is a partnership with a lot of different representatives, including Missoula County and the City of Missoula. We meet monthly. We are tracking and sharing successes. And, you know, in the first downtown master plan that we finished in 2009, we accomplished about 75% of the goals and recommended action items in that plan. We are contributing time, talent, expertise, funding to implement the plan. And there's always lots of different projects to be working on from year to year. We have subset plans also, including the North Riverside Parks and Trails Plan, the Missoula Heritage Plan, and the West Broadway Master Plan. And those are all, you know, part of that downtown plan. The downtown master plan area is much larger than what the majority of our population thinks of as downtown. The master plan study boundary goes all the way to I-90, west to Russell Street, east to East Broadway, wrapping around Missoula College, and covers both sides of the river corridor through the area, and includes the old Sawmill District and the area west of that district. We have like 16 people on our team, and we are meeting monthly. These are the representatives who join us every month and actively work to implement the plan. We're very excited to have both Karen Hughes and Chet Krauser from Missoula County on our team and appreciate their contributions. Downtown is the heartbeat of our community, and there are lots of great ideas that came from our community as ways to make the plan better. Just an overview of our accomplishments over the course of the last year. In the planning space, we are near completion with the Transportation Options Plan. This is an action plan to help Missoula meet its goals around transportation. So we're talking about how we attract and retain tenants and employees, reduce congestion and traffic, promote sustainability, improve community health and wellness, enhance equity and choices, and decrease development costs. So this will be sort of folded into the Our Missoula Growth Policy as we think about how we communicate and work with employers and employees on transportation and parking options for them. This is particularly valuable in the downtown area. I'm having a hard time moving. What's happening here? Oh, here we go. The Clark Fork River Restoration and Access Plan really looks at the corridor, the river corridor throughout downtown. We're close to being completed with that plan. This is really looking at reducing erosion in the corridor where we have a lot of chicken trails, people coming in and out of the water, and formalizing and hardening access areas where we want people to be getting in and out of the river. And, you know, we need that to happen where we have parking, garbage, and restrooms. So very important. We've been talking a lot about the front and main conversion, and the engineering of that particular plan is close to being done. There will be, I think, some more outreach in the area and a few more details to finish up. But this is really, part of improving access and flow to and in around downtown, especially as it relates to the businesses on Front and Main, accessing Front and Main from Madison and Orange Street, and of course, accessing our parking structures, which are all on one-way streets right now. Combined with that, the Higgins analysis from Broadway to Brooks is close to being finished. We are hoping to get the final report from HDR soon. Again, there is a few more meetings that need to take place to fine tune some of the details on a block by block basis. But this is a project that's been 2 years in the planning process, so we're close to being done with that. You are aware that the city has launched our Missoula Growth Policy Update and Code Reform. This is part of the downtown master plan as well, because, zoning has a lot to do with, how we navigate the urban and built environment. So this is a project that will take a couple of years, and we're looking at it being done towards the end of 2025. The tourism stewardship plan is underway, led by Destination Missoula. This is going to be sort of the strategy for tourism over the next 10 years. This plan will hopefully be completed towards the end of the year. The group is doing a resident survey now. It closes at the end of the month. So if you haven't taken the resident survey, please do so. You can find it on destinationmissoula.org. They will also do a resident survey after the summer tourism season and, compare sentiment before and after. This is really talking about how we preserve this special place, how we take care of our assets, how we direct and attract the kind of tourism we want and spread that tourism out so it's more sustainable. The Missoula Parking Commission has launched a Missoula citywide parking study earlier this year. We are anticipating completion towards the end of the year. We are looking, at parking downtown, but also parking in other areas, University neighborhood, Hip Strip, other potential areas that need managed parking. The Parking Commission is also looking at how to improve strategies, practices, communications, and really work with our transportation planning team at City Hall to accomplish some of those greater transportation and parking goals. We are close to having a first draft of the interpretive plan for the parks and trails north of the river. There are many stories to be told that are part of our history and our heritage. Examples include, the story of Bess Reed, why is Caras Park named Caras, the Lewis and Clark story, the Native American story, the Milltown Dam removal, the stormwater story. So this plan will help us decide where stories go, how to prioritize them, how to link them so that the consumer has a good experience and understands, the stories of our history as we lay them out appropriately. Moving on to projects completed. Obviously, some of this you already know, but Mountain Line is close to finishing its bus stop master plan implementation. So they are upgrading all of the bus stops in Missoula, making them easier to access, easier to see, easier to use, and adding some ADA improvements and signage. And that should be done hopefully by the end of the summer. As you know, Mountain Line was funded for 7-day-a-week service last summer. That's a big accomplishment for the community as a whole. But particularly downtown because, we have a very vibrant nightlife and, to be able to use Mountain Line services evenings, weekends, Sunday nights is really great. And all routes come to downtown. So Mountain Line services for downtown is very important. We finished the Bear Tracks Bridge, which took about 3 years. And last summer, thanks to the support of Missoula County and Commissioner Dave Strohmeyer, we renamed the bridge and completed it and dedicated it, and it feels really good. We've had a number of private projects also come to completion. The Wren, which was previously the Days Inn or the Best Western Executive Inn, depending upon how long you've been here. We used to call it the Inside Out Hotel because it has no windows. So they turned it to a street-facing hotel. They added a floor. It's a $10 million investment with 73 hotel rooms and 2 retailers. They opened in December, and it's been lovely. The Reed condos were completed this past spring. That's a $25 million investment of residential units right in downtown. 8 of them are income restricted units, and there are 100 underground parking spaces that nobody can see. So it's amazing. The Northwestern Energy Power Substation is complete. That power substation in the River Corridor powers the University District, and downtown Missoula. It's been there for 100 years. It's very important infrastructure, and Northwestern Energy invested $10 million to upgrade it. Projects on the rise or in the works include wrapping the power substation in big art. We wanted to bury it because it's not very attractive, but apparently it was like $60 million to bury it. So we're going to hide it instead. And we have a group of volunteers working on some Native American art to hang from those walls. They just painted them last month. So we're still fundraising a little bit, but we're hoping to get a couple of the walls done this year and the other 2 done next year. We also have 2 phases for our Underbridge playground. This is underneath the Bear Tracks Bridge. It was a dark and dreary parking lot for about 30 cars that separated Caras Park from East Caras Park. With the bridge construction, we were able to relocate all of those leased spaces into other lots that had vacancy available. We're close to having a permit from MDT, and we'll be able to do phase 1 hopefully in the next 30 to 60 days. We have basketball courts, bike racks, seating, and table tennis. When you're under the bridge, you're protected from sun, snow, and rain. When you travel in other communities, you see that they're using their underbridge spaces much more productively. So that's the goal we're shooting for. It will better connect the 2 parks and be a place where anybody can play, adults and kids. Down the road, we'll have art, lighting, climbing, skating, parkour, and some flex space. So it's a longer than we had anticipated project, but we're getting close. We also continue to work on downtown wayfinding, finding your way, having signage that helps direct you and helps identify your destinations and your assets will be really helpful for the new Missoulian and the visitor. And today we actually reviewed some parking signs that align with the wayfinding system. So we're excited to see others picking this up and moving it forward too. We've finished 5. We have 5 information kiosks left, 3 downtown gateways, and then a couple of updates with our pedestrian directionals. So hopefully we'll be done with that in another year or so. You likely also know that Mountain Line is doing some facilities planning and development. And I think today's announcement from Senator Tester's office is contributing to this project. So they are planning for a new location. They've outgrown the space that they're currently in. They need charging sites for their electric buses. Again, that's part of, the bigger picture for the community as a whole. Other projects on the horizon include planning and policy development for micro mobility. This is e-bikes, motor scooters, curb management for Lyft and Uber, the new types of transportation coming down the road. We need to be thinking about downtown's urban forest. Our trees are really important. It's very difficult to grow trees in 4-foot by 4-foot concrete blocks. We are losing a significant number of our downtown trees because they're not being managed and cared for. So we need to come up with, some standards and solutions, both short-term and long-term. We have some bigger art projects coming down the pipeline. You'll see 2 of them today. The Missoula Downtown Foundation created a new program to encourage large murals. And this week, We have started a mural on the Grizzly Hackle building at the Ryman entrance to Karis Park. So they're working on that now. And then in a couple weeks, we'll have another mural coming to life in the alley adjacent to Office City. Just to give you a look at what's happening in downtown over the last 4 years, we took 2019 and then the 3 COVID years. We've still seen a significant amount of investment in our downtown. So here you have private investment as well as transportation investment and highlights, some of the bigger projects. So there's a significant amount of private investment that's taken place, almost $700 million in the last 4 years. And then, of course, we've had, pretty significant transportation investment, the largest of that being the Russell Street corridor. We've also had quite a bit of investment in the residential spaces of downtown. About 1,200 units have been built over the last 4 years. That's on top of about 3,000 units that were built the 10 years before that. So we are making gains on building housing in the core where people have access to infrastructure and where it's easier to bike, walk, and bus. We've also had quite a lot of business activity despite the pandemic. Usually for the last 15 years, we've had a 2-to-1 ratio of openings to closings. But in this past year, we saw a 4-to-1 ratio of openings to closings. So 32 businesses opened their doors in downtown Missoula last year, which is kind of opposite of what the community narrative is. We hate to lose our favorite businesses, but when we have new businesses open, it takes a little while to get acclimated and accustomed to them. But, the business environment downtown is pretty healthy and our vacancy rates are very low right now. So that summarizes kind of what we've been working on as it relates to the downtown master plan and, our work to implement that plan. And we will continue to work on that over time. And it's nice to be able to give you an annual update on what's happened. With that, I'll pause and answer questions you might have.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
No questions, just
Right on.
celebration. Congratulations. This is really great to hear.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Lots of congratulations. Thanks for all that years of good work.
Thank you.
All right, our next hearing is a resolution and it's a Lolo Regional Plan Map Amendment. And Ryan will come talk to us.
Thank you, Commissioners. Lauren Ryan, planner with Planning Development and Sustainability. So today's hearing is to adopt the final resolution to amend the Lolo Regional Plan and the Missoula County Growth Policy Land Use Map. The applicant is represented by Carl Treadwell with 406 Engineering. The subject property, just as a reminder, is located at the former Lolo School site at 11395 Highway 93 South in Lolo. I have this map up here again as just a reminder of the proposed amended land use designations, which will include 15.73 acres of residential, 13.42 acres of open space, 14.21 acres of general commercial, and 0.39 acres of community commercial. Just going back through the process, the planning board heard this at their meeting and voted unanimously on recommendation approval. The Board of County Commissioners adopted a draft resolution to adopt on May 25th of 2023. And since that time, we've left the proposal up for public comment since that May 25th public hearing. And in terms of new public comments that we've received, a number of comments generally in support of the proposal and wanting to reiterate that this area should become a community space for the community of Lolo, that they would like to see some commercial development here in forms of, more coffee shops, restaurants, something that's going to be a attractive place for the residents to go to. And parks as well was also recommended. And also additionally emphasize the need for expanded infrastructure in this area in terms of roads, water, and sewer as well. And staff did attend the Lolo Community Council, and I know that Commissioner Strohmeyer attended that meeting as well. So we are there to answer any questions from the residents of Lolo. And again, at that meeting, it was brought up the infrastructure component of this piece as well. And so today, staff has the motions up to adopt the final resolution to amend both the Lolo Regional Plan map and the Missoula County Growth Policy Land Use map as well. I believe Carl is on. If you have any questions for the representative, and I can answer any questions as well.
Thanks a lot, Lauren. Would the developer's representative like to add anything?
No, thank you. It sounds like Lauren covered it pretty well.
Great, thanks. Lauren, do you have any?
Is there anyone from Lolo here?
Oh, great, great.
No one from Lolo? Karen drives through Lolo.
So what I'd like to make a little comment on this. The folks in Lolo have been pretty clear that they have some specific desires for what they'd like to see out of this development project. And I believe they're also aware that this is a major development. This will be done by professionals, and they will be building in accordance with zoning. And yet the folks in Lolo have some real desires. So we would like to take this moment to strongly encourage the developers and the developers representative to be in contact with the folks at the Lolo Community Council and listen to them and do the best you can to incorporate their desires into your ultimate plan. And I think we are going to ask some of our planners at some point to memorialize that desire in an open letter so we can let the folks in Lolo know that we've heard them and encourage the developers to listen to them as well. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. Well, I move to adopt the resolution to amend the Lolo region map for the Lolo school property located at 1139-5 Highway 93 South, Lolo, Montana, from public lands to residential, commercial, and open space land use designations based on the findings of fact and conclusions contained in the staff report.
I'll second that. And any public comment? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I also move to adopt the resolution to amend the Missoula County Growth Policy Land Use Map, Map 18 for the Lolo school property located at 1139-5 Highway 93 South in Lolo, Montana, based on the findings of fact and conclusions contained in the staff report.
I'll second that. Any public comment on this one? All right, given there's none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great. Thank you, Lauren. And thanks to the folks from 406 Engineering. Okay, now Tim Worley is going to speak to us about the Creighton Major Subdivision.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, Tim Worley with Planning, Development, and Sustainability. This is Creighton Major, which is a proposal from Creighton Appraisal represented by Montana Northwest for 8 residential lots and 1 utility lot located in western Target Range Orchard Homes. Put a bullet on here. This is actually multiple properties. Problems with my laser. Here we go. So some of you might recall that there is a property that formerly had 3 radio towers on it near the big curb between 3rd Street and Clements. That is the site of this right adjacent to the Clark Fork River. The proposal is again for 8 residential lots and 1 utility lot, along with a county standard cul-de-sac road, and 4.56 acres of common area on the northwestern portion of the property. So the growth policy in this area recommends a density of 2 homes per acre. That's the Missoula area land use element. But the target range plan does recommend a lesser density of 1 home per acre. And the gross density of this project ends up being about 1 dwelling point, 1.2 acres. So the subdivision history, this project was sufficient prior to the new zoning that was adopted as of July 1st of last year. It was presented at Planning Board on the 19th of July of last year, and then it came before you on August the 4th. A delay was requested by the applicants to address the channel migration issue associated with the Clark Fork River. And we have received a geotechnical report about a week ago regarding this issue. Now, as to the channel migration issue, I'm not going to go into great detail, commissioners, but a significant portion of this subdivision does have the erosion hazard area, which you see there in yellow, encumbering, if you will, the property. Note that actually this doesn't encompass the entire ownership. There's a little bit of ownership over here immediately adjacent to the Clark Fork River, and that's the area of immediate concern. So this is the channel migration zone study that we're referencing today. The river portion of the property is in what's known as the historic migration zone, and that's that blue shade. Much of the the landward portion of the property is in the erosion hazard area. Again, that kind of orange colored zone, which is about 580 feet wide. There are provisions in the CMZ for narrowing the erosion hazard area to 200 feet. And the big question is this possible with Creighton subdivision? Does it make sense in this location? So where this shows up within the study is this dashed line right here in sort of western Target Range and Orchard Homes. It's a fairly limited area. This narrowing up of the buffer, or the potential narrowing up of the erosion hazard area. And I'll take you to a water quality district comment on the original subdivision. They noted that 7 of the 10 lots are anticipated to be subject to extensive erosion, and some of the lots could be fully lost to channel migration. And that dynamic could change if the erosion hazard area could be narrowed from that 580 feet to 200 feet. So some downstream examples of concern are just to the west, as in 719 Walker Street, here where there's significant river erosion taking place. And this actually is a portion of the Creighton subdivision right here. So this is a graphic I showed in August of last year that shows significant erosion that happened. And this is the Walker Street address immediately to the west of Creighton. So Creighton is right here, and here's the Walker Street property. And I believe they lost maybe 10 feet of land, but considerable erosion occurred on that property. So this is the heading of the geotechnical report. So the geotech is new information the public has a right to review, and the county needs to consider its relevance and credibility. We feel that an agency review is needed for this geotechnical report review. And if determined to be relevant and credible, the report must be considered at a subsequent public hearing. Our recommendation is to consider the report at Planning Board, followed later by a Board of County Commissioners hearing. So our recommendation, commissioners, for you today is to acknowledge that the report is relevant and credible. Conduct an agency review, which we will do. We will oversee. That agency review may involve bringing in an outside reviewer. And once the review is complete, we would schedule Planning Board. We would actually notice it like we would notice any major subdivision. with adjacent property owner notice and notice in the Missoulian. And then it eventually would come back before you. So I did want to acknowledge some public comment that was received. There's been concerns about wildlife impacts noted and a need for a larger buffer. There's been some comment about the 3rd Street and Clements curve, that it's actually a fairly dangerous curve, and adding another street to this might be a problem. Clements traffic continues to increase, and the proposed access point of the new cul-de-sac road might be a concern. Traffic will cross the Clements non-motorized path with the new cul-de-sac, and Walker Drive might not be an adequate road to provide a through connection. The subdivision could be considered sprawl. Floodplain and channel migration hazards should be considered with this subdivision. There's a kind of an ongoing question of whether there's a through connection to the river immediately north of Walker. And then why are there variances with considering that there's updated zoning regulations? And considering the CMZ study and the developer's analysis of that study in light of the subdivision, what would a further review look like during this agency review that we're talking about? So in closing, our recommendation is to acknowledge that the geotech report is relevant and credible, and we would recommend also that you take public comment today if there is any.
Thanks, Tim. Ken, would you like to speak to this?
Good afternoon. For the record, Ken Jenkins with Montana Northwest Company. I first would like to thank county planning. We sort of got caught up in a timing issue with the subdivision and the CMZ and the new zoning, all sort of simultaneously mixed up in the same bowl. And prior to the initial planning board meeting, we really did not have an opportunity to react to the CMZ. The CMZ being part of zoning, in some ways shouldn't be a factor because we were deemed sufficient for review prior to the enactment of the zoning. That being said, the CMZ is out there, and part of your job is to protect public health, safety, and welfare, as it is ours. So I know this has been, I don't know, what, 3rd, 4th time you guys have heard about this. Kind of an ongoing review process at this level to allow time to sort of back up the train and take a look at the CMZ. The CMZ, what I would say that we're doing now with this new study is taking it a step further in a site-specific format, which on a study that as large as the CMZ, they're not looking at specific soils on every individual piece of property, which when we're proposing subdivision on an individual piece of property, that needs to be done. And so essentially that's where we're at today. I agree with Tim's suggestions of how to move forward to essentially redo the planning board process, the public process, the public comments that continue to come in. There certainly will be a time and place to address all of that at the formal meetings, but we're in agreement with the proposed schedule. Thank you.
And Tim or Ken, what is the ballpark? When do you think this could go before planning board?
We had initially discussed possibly September. We're not sure how long it might take to bring in an outside expert to review the CMZ study sufficiently. So because of that, we didn't want to put a date certain on either planning board or a future county commissioners hearing. So yeah, we're not sure at this point.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ken, and thanks, Tim. And I want to acknowledge that in the world of development, like everywhere else, time is money, and this is a real inconvenience and a bit of a hardship for those involved. And the Channel Migration Zone study is what it is. So thanks for your patience, and look forward to learning more in September.
So commissioners, it's somewhat of a formality, but if you could just acknowledge.
We
That geotech is relevant and credible, and
yeah, and anybody besides us like to speak to this, please do. And you're welcome to comment online or in any written form as well. Okay, thank you. All right, with that, we will move to our final hearing of the day. Thank you. We'll move to our final hearing of the day, a petition to alter a portion of Lower Miller Creek Road, and Steve Nide will kick this off.
Steve Nide, County Surveyor's Office. This is the second hearing for this petition. It was postponed from its originally scheduled date due to some concern about proper notification. I believe that has taken place. I don't see Deb Hoagland, who was. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, she presented to you commissioners a letter outlining her concerns. I read it. I thought it was well done. I applaud her for her involvement in the neighborhood. But, and this is a but, from my standpoint, most of her concerns has to do with development and adherence to the plan for that area. In reality, you commissioners are being asked to vote on a petition, road petition, that very basically moves some, alters some legal right-of-way over to where the existing physical road is. That alteration's not really affecting greatly the development. The primary part of the development that's taking place out there is within the city environs, and you obviously have no control over that. There's a simultaneous action by the developer to get the city to do a similar petition action. And I think it's essential that the processes take place not simultaneously, but dependent on each other. We don't want to get into a position where we have city road comes here, we move down to here, and then something happens and the city doesn't move it, and we have a non-continuous right-of-way, correct? So somehow or another, we have to make sure that if you agree to the alteration in front of you today, that we make it contingent on the city also following through with their portion. And along with that, there's a small portion of the county road that's going to be moved into this new altered right-of-way position. So we also want to make sure that we don't end up with the right-of-way moved, but no road within it. So we want the road to be built in the new altered right-of-way, and we want the city's process to be completed altogether. And I guess we just, if you decide to go ahead with this vote, we condition it on the city's part happening.
Thank you, Steve.
Is there anyone who could put up a map of this just to help folks see what we're talking about?
Would be good to have it up
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, so the pink area that extends south of Lower Miller Creek Road, that whole shaded area is within the city. The alteration petition in front of you today is on both sides of that pink area. The road that exists today would be slightly bent down to the south to connect to a new alignment of the road through the city portion. So you're basically altering just a little bit on either side of that pink portion, which is the city portion. Yep, right. And within the city portion, there will be a traffic circle, which should help to slow down traffic on Lower Miller Creek Road. And then there'll be a connection road coming out of Linda Vista from the north into Lower Miller Creek Road.
I'm sorry, where's that connection from Linda Vista?
It's shown there kind of as a rough driveway kind of thing, about where the address number is, just north. Yeah, just by the address block 7855 there. Sure, come on up.
We'll do the whole thing. Anybody like to speak to this?
You know more about this than I do when it comes to the design.
Ray Davis with IMEG. I'm the developer's representative. I guess maybe some questions on where we're at with the city process. We do have currently city stage 4 release for construction project on the subdivision, right? And where we're at with the relocation of Lower Miller Creek Road within this subdivision, that was kind of part of the preliminary plat approval, is there were some conditions of approval for this relocation that the city presented to us and Lloyd Twite that we have reviewed, and we have agreed to those conditions, and that should make its way through city council sometime here in July. And essentially what that is the Twite family is going to be granting a temporary easement for where this Lower Miller Creek Road will be. So we can build on that and then can do the connections and then be able to swap people over on that new Lower Miller Creek portion. And then once we have people swapped over and, you know, we're in maybe final plat process, once we file the plat, that kind of null and voids that easement. And then the plat kind of sets the new right of way within the subdivision boundary.
So just kind of for the record, would you describe why this is necessary?
Well, this was so as part of the preliminary plat approval for this subdivision. That was, I think, circa 2005. The proposed development had a relocation of Lower Miller Creek, right? And we're providing a traffic circle. The road does kind of have some turns here that will actually slow down traffic through the area, so it won't be a straight shot like it is right now. And so we're just kind of we're at the point of this subdivision and this particular phase where we have to meet those conditions in order to file this plat.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Would anyone else like to speak to this? And online as well. Oh, thank you. Cheryl, can you see who that is? Someone has their hand up. 150. We invite you to speak.
That would be Deb Hoagland.
Oh, welcome, Deb.
Hi. Hey, thanks for having me. And the only things that I wanted to add to this today is that it have been developed or platted originally in, I think he said 2005. The map that Scott Twite brought to me when he asked me to sign for approval for this was a 2013 map that had the road still, it didn't have any of the apartments, and it still had the road in its current position. And it didn't even have the road, the proposed realignment on it at that point. And I asked him, why is that? Why did you bring me this map if you don't have that information on it? And he said, well, it's the map that's available. So I have in my possession the map that he gave me that doesn't show way back in 2005. It shows the road still going through, and then they put on, I think, but this is not my bailiwick, but like 2018 or 19 is when they put those apartments in there, and I just discovered that online. So that's when that got changed down there. So I don't know about that, but my angst continues to be that that this traffic's going to be dumped out onto Lower Miller Creek Road, which is not improved, at least going to the. I bought my property before I put in my, knowing that the development was coming at some point, before I put in my trees and shrubbery out there, I had Territorial come out and do a survey to make sure that I was not on the road right away. So this has, I've been planning for it for a long time, but it doesn't seem like the county has been planning for it for a long time. And that road is not going to be safe for pedestrians, bicycles, and traffic the way it's designed now. So that's all I have to say.
Steve, do you have anything to say to that?
course I do. Of Deb Hoagland's concerns, I find the most important maybe and the most valuable that she brings to the table is that bad intersection of Miller Creek and Lower Miller Creek. And I think she's right. I think that some of the folks in that new development are going to go east and then try to cut back up Miller Creek Road. And that's a bad turn. The only way, I'm not nearly a traffic engineer, but from a layperson's perspective, maybe a traffic circle there might improve the situation. But yeah, she brings some good points to the table.
And if I could also add to that, thanks, Steve. If I could also add to that, you know, the Miller Creek plan, zoning and planning plan says that existing roads will be brought up to safe standards either prior to or concurrent with development. And I'm going on the record here is that whole stretch from where they want to do the proposed or the realignment down to Miller Creek and Lower Miller Creek, not going to be safe for pedestrians and bicycles. It's a narrow 2-lane old country road. So I'm not against development, but I'm against not following the current planning and zoning and not doing it safely. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would like to reiterate something, Steve, that you said earlier, that the question before us today is around this road realignment, not around planning and zoning. This is in the city. Those are their concerns, and I imagine they'll be diligent in enforcing the city's planning and zoning. But we're here today to consider this road realignment.
Well, excuse me, but this is also county. The plan that planning and zoning is defined as to go all the way to the Bitterroot River. So this is also county. This covers the county as well, that planning and zoning. It's on the Missoula County website.
This is Karen Hughes. I'm with the Planning Development and Sustainability Department, and 1997 is both the city plan and a county plan. That being said, it's 26 years old or so. And the lifespan of a plan does have a bit of an end date. It's not been repealed. It's one of those things where jurisdictions have to kind of do a balancing act. Although plans set a vision and intention and provide guidance as to what we want to do, they also say we're not going to do everything, and we probably won't do it all at once, and we probably won't do it perfectly, and it acknowledges that in the adoption language. And so it doesn't commit us to doing everything perfectly. It just commits us to trying to do our best to get things going in the right direction. And so although this doesn't take care of every issue, it does take care of some issues that this plan talks about by providing some slowing of traffic in a particular location and dealing with development impacts in this location. So it's not perfect, but it is a piece of the puzzle that both the city has apparently needs at this time. And I would remind the commission that not only do we have this plan in effect for this area, but we also have the land use element in effect as well.
I was just going to ask about the land use element and our zoning update in this specific area.
Yeah, in this specific area in the county portions of these lands, we have much lower development densities proposed. And so for the county, we shifted density away from this area, similar to, and acknowledge what's there, essentially not a ton more. There is some more potential, but not a ton more potential development. And we also shifted our infrastructure investment priority to areas where growth is anticipated.
What's suggested for the density for the count for the?
It's a range of things. There's a variety of lower rural residential, small ag, Primarily, there are a couple properties that have the RM designation, which is higher density, but most of it is lower densities.
And the question before us today is around a road realignment.
Yeah, to support to address the traffic impacts from properties developed within the city.
That's where I was headed originally when I said city, because I'm looking at this area in the pink.
And all of these plans, one of the key things that Steve points out is the importance of coordination between the jurisdictions. Deb's right. We're not going to always get it perfect, but we do have to keep doing it in lockstep with the city.
Great. Thanks.
What's the suggested language then for that coordination?
Contingency, right?
Yeah, I think Steve had a suggestion or.
Oh, here's an attorney in the room.
There's an attorney here. No, Steve came into my office 15 minutes before this meeting, and I said, Steve, you better have a motion prepared, and apparently he doesn't. But what he has some language in the viewers report, I think.
Okay.
I don't have that viewers report in front of me, but you might be able to use some of that language to craft a motion that incorporates this coordination condition into your decision.
I see something coming. Thank you.
Josh, you probably didn't see that. Dave was on the viewing with me. I ran it by him and he approved it. But there it is for you in black and white.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Josh and I weren't part of this.
I'll reread the relevant section. Since the petition affects rights of way in both the city and county, both entities are collaborating to ensure continuous public right of way. We recommend the petitioner's request be granted, contingent on the successful completion of the petition within the city and completion of a constructed road in the altered location and acceptance of that road by both the city and county.
No, it's right. We got it right here.
Thank you. I move that. Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, we'll get it word for word.
Okay. I move that the petitioner's request be granted, contingent on the successful completion of the petition within the city and completion of a constructed road in the altered location and acceptance of that road by both the city and the county. Oh, hold on. Let me just read this.
We're good? All right. I'll second that and call for any public comment on this. Let's see here. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks for all your work on this, Steve. Thanks, John. Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Corey.
Yes. All right. I do believe we are done for today. So we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.